Hello friends and welcome back to the channel where today I am very excited to share with you a planning sheet that I've developed over the past several days for the brand new Wheel of Fate quest which just came out last week. Now the Wheel of Fate is going to test your roster more so than perhaps any other piece of Everest content that Kabam has ever released. And planning your attackers out for each of the 3 chapters is going to go a long way towards ensuring that you don't get roadblocked. Now I will leave a link to the sheet in the description below, but I do want to spend just a couple minutes in this video kind of walking you through the sheet, showing you how it works. If you've used my planning sheets for the Ordeal or the Reunion Crucible, then this one should look really familiar to you. Now before I continue, I do want to give a huge thank you to the other contributors who generously agreed to provide their attackers for every fight across all 3 quests. In these planning sheets, I really think it's important to include a group of players who think about the game differently, who approach fights differently, and to that end, I think we have a really good group for this planning sheet. So please show your thanks to Grass, to Bitter Steel, to TJ, MSD, Marcus, and BMcG by clicking on the links here and subscribing to their channels if you haven't already. These are all very good guys, very smart players, and I am so thankful that they agreed to have their information shared on this sheet. When you click the link in the description, you'll be greeted by a very familiar info page here with some brief instructions, and from here what you want to do is go up to the file menu and you want to click this make a copy button, and this will create a copy of the spreadsheet in your own Google Drive. Please, and I want to make this as clear as possible because it happens on every one of these sheets, do not request edit access to the original sheet because it spams me with emails and I'm just going to deny the request. File, make a copy, could not be any easier. Now once you have a copy of the sheet in your own Google Drive, there are 3 separate tabs here for the 3 different quests in the content. I have all of the defenders listed here on the left, all of the nodes. You can look up some of these nodes over on Aunt May. Aunt May hasn't been updated in a while, as you might know, and some of these nodes are a little bit newer, but if you want to know the node descriptions, you can either look on Aunt May or you can just look in the game itself. In column C here, I have the tag restrictions. So in this content, you are restricted on each fight by a certain group of champions that match these tags. And you also can only use 7 stars. So for Gore in Quest 1, you need a 7 star from 2024. No other champs will be available to you outside of these tag restrictions. So you need to make sure as you're planning this out that you have a decent option available for every one of these fights because all of the tags are different across this and the rest of the other 2 quests. Next column over, we have just a brief fight summary. I put out the guides, which I would encourage you to watch. Of course, not everyone has the time to watch what amounts to 3 hours of a video guide. They are there if you need an example of the fight, of course. But I've tried to include like a brief text summary of the fights here and kind of what you need to do, how you need to approach the fight. Next column over are just a list of viable attackers for the fight. And again, I don't have the space, I don't have the time to list every possible attacker that can do this fight. I just picked out like 3 or 4 of what I feel like are the best options for the fight. Kind of, collected the information from the contributors that I talked about earlier. And speaking of them, I've included all of the teams for those contributors over here on the right-hand side. So you can see my champ for each fight here, along with Grass, Bittersteel, TJ, MSD, Marcus, and BMcG. And I've tried to include people on this sheet who have like a variety of teams, so I really wanted to avoid a situation where all of us were using the same attacker for a fight, because that's not really helpful, and if you're missing that champion, it kind of feels bad. There are some cases where that's true here, as you'll see, for like the Bullseye, we're all using Mr. Sinister. For the most part, at least one person is going to have like a different attacker than the rest. Now, as you go in, you go in and you can just fill out your attacker here. And the other thing you need to be concerned about is that you cannot use the same attacker twice in a single quest. You move on to the next quest, you can use the same attacker again. But if you try and put the same attacker in the sheet twice, it's going to warn you that you've duplicated an attacker. So just a little bit of a safety measure there. Another thing I want to point out here is that you'll notice that some of these champions are in bold red. These are attackers where the person where this champ is listed under probably wouldn't recommend using that champion or would have preferred to use a different option if they had another shot at this. So for example, this is Quest 2. I used Havoc against Bullseye. It wasn't the best. It was fine, but it wasn't the best. MSD used Count Nefaria for this Serpent, and it took him like 20 minutes, so, think twice before you bring in Count Nefaria to that fight. And so you'll see, a couple of those red text, red champ names scattered throughout this sheet. I think that's all I wanted to say about this sheet. I sincerely hope it is helpful to you in planning out your runs through this content. This content, very restrictive, not really that difficult for me anyways, especially since you're doing the same fights kind of 3 times. Each quest is the same, just the tags are different. So like by the time you get to the 3rd quest, you have a really good idea of what to expect in these fights and just how to play them with the different attackers based on the tag restrictions. So again, if this was helpful to you, please let me know in the comments below. Also, I would appreciate if you share this video, share the sheet with your friends, with your alliance mates, with anybody else who is prepping to go into this content. Please don't forget to hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would humbly ask that you do so before clicking off this video and to your next one. And as always, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time.